not a lot of places where you can really talk politics amongst a diverse group of people. And I found that this group did a really good job of bringing people in from both sides of the political spectrum. And I wanted Joe to come on, but I found John Carroll here to my left. And he graciously volunteered.
You volunteered me. I agreed.
He's one of the very vocal members, and we've talked at hours on a whole host of issues.
Often later tonight.
Yep. So we'll get involved with that. He's a software architect just like me. I'm a software consultant myself. Used to work at Microsoft.
Yep.
And you actually went to school at University of Dallas for economics.
For economics, yeah. So I don't know how I became a computer programmer. It just kind of worked out that way accidentally. It's just the way it goes.
Right.
That is awesome.
Yep. And we also have Mike Lee over here, our regular.
Okay,
The eternal revolutionary Republican.
So I just want to talk about current events, different things that were going on. I had intended to show some clips of Obama's interview. He had an interview yesterday, Sunday, with George Stephanopoulos of ABC News, where
Did they hug and kiss?
they did. It was a fair interview, I think. As you know, George Stephanopoulos was senior consultant in the Clinton days. John might not know that.
I think Stephanopoulos was. He was in the media for Clinton, wasn't I believe?
Yeah. He was a senior staffer during the Clinton administration and became part of.
Is that ABC?
Good Morning America.
Yeah, Good Morning America, and This Week. So he, a lot of journalists, tried to become a journalist, and he's done, I think, a fair job. But he's definitely left-leaning, like most of the mainstream media are. But he's tried to be fair and honest as well as he can be.
Most of the mainstream media,
but we can get into that.
let's do that hanging.
Okay, all right. So I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then unless I change it up.
Race relations?
No, Russian hacking is the first one.
There we go.
And then they're labeled 1 through 4, and then I gave you the agenda on there. Oh, you got one. Okay, here.
And what we're going to do is we're going to show some videos. We're going to show some clips of some videos here, and our producer, she's coming out getting them. So they'll be up there. So in the meanwhile, we'll talk about some other things too. But yeah, George Stephanopoulos, he's a very popular man.
Yeah.
Journalist. You know.
And it's amazing because I remember hearing him interview, I guess it's 20 years ago, and he was a staunch Democrat for Bill Clinton. And when I heard he was going into the media, it's like, how can the media take this guy right from the White House and call him a journalist?
Corey Lewandowski now works for CNN, though, so it seems to be kind of par for the course
yes,
to get
but
these spokespeople
he
to
acknowledges that he is for Trump, and he is a Republican and a conservative.
Well, okay.
George Stephanopoulos never acknowledged that.
But George Stephanopoulos was a spokesperson for a relatively moderate Democrat. I mean, you can't look at Clinton and think of him as being a far left-wing person. He really was very middle of the road. He was pushing he did welfare reform.
He's more centrist.
He's more
Yes,
centrist.
yeah.
So it's kind of you kind of want to have centrist people as spokespeople on TV. Those are good people to have.
Yeah.
And
But
they
it
can
doesn't
kind of
help
attack both
the
sides.
mainstream media, though, to elect somebody that was part of an administration that was obviously left-leaning when, there's always been a liberal bent to, the mainstream media.
Not
So
much anymore.
You guys are going to argue this show. It's going to be good.
Well, I knew it would be good with John.
always
You
argue.
do
We
not want to
argue
get me.
all the
You do
time.
not want to get me on your mama, okay? Your mama, Obama. Yeah. I'm just going to break in here while she's getting ready to queue up the videos that you have. You want them in that order, right?
Yes.
So we're going to queue them up, and she's working on getting it. I just want to mention for all of y'all that, we've been off for the past 2 weeks. And for those of you who didn't see our last show, I lost my sister on December 17th. It was Pokey's birthday. So now Pokey's birthday is always going to be the finger birthday because that was the last finger that she shot out was to the finger to my husband. I love you, Sid. I miss you. Have fun out there in the universe.
She was a great girl.
Oh, I miss you.
Yes, she was. She was a great girl.
I feel like a half of me is missing.
I feel you. I feel you. I mean, it's always tough when we lose family. always.
Yeah, I lost my father this year in March, and yeah,
Sorry to
it
hear
was
that.
tough for my mom. Actually, my mom is going to be flying in a couple weeks. I'm going to spend the summer months. We're from upstate New York, so
She won't be in the cold.
yeah. My sister has been moving in with her for the last 6 months, so I thought I'd host her for
Yeah,
the winter
Oh,
last year
that's
was
beautiful.
tough. I lost my best friend of 59 years.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And you
lost
just
my
lost your mother too.
grandfather.
And my mother,
Yes.
who was 30 days short of 100.
Now, that's amazing.
That's a long
She
life.
passed away the 9th, on the election night.
Wow. Yeah.
Around 3:05 in the morning, they said. That's about when the announcement came out.
Wow.
99 years old. Wow.
Yep.
That's wow.
You'll have to tell me the secret. What
Yeah.
you should do to.
That's the food.
She told me,
amazing.
I asked her once, she told me, don't worry about anything.
Yeah.
She said, don't worry, pray.
No stress. Yeah.
That is true. Worrying can do a lot of things. Yes, it can.
Oh,
Yes,
is
it
Mike,
can.
come in?
Come on and get
Sneaking
you a
in.
chair.
Oh, what happened to his chair?
John may have taken it out. But,
Okay.
so, I'm excited that this is going to be a great year. There's a lot of transition that we're all going through, that all of us, locally and nationally as well. So we've got a lot of things that, there's a lot of things to look forward to. And I believe there is. And
Certainly a change.
it is a change.
Yeah,
It is a
certainly a
change. Here's the thing, and we're going to be talking about some things tonight, and it may be a bit of a debate, but the thing is that we can all agree to disagree,
Yep.
because we all want to agree on certain things. But when we leave here, we'll still be friends. And the thing is that I think for the past 4 years, we've had this, if I want to call it a dead kind of hope.
Okay.
And I know that was one of the main things for President Obama, of his thing is hope, hope, hope. We do have to keep hope alive. Don't get me wrong. But there are some times when I'm like, I don't want to say everything has been doom and gloom, but there are times when either you're going to put up or shut up.
I don't know how you can look at the last 8 years though as doom and gloom. I mean, to be fair, he came in the worst recession since the Great Depression. That's a massive hole to dig your way out of. And consistently, we've had job growth every year. The deficit's been going down. Obviously, it goes up during recessions because you're not collecting tax revenue as highly. And jobs have been growing. Now we're at 4.9 or 4.7 unemployment rate.
At 30 hours a week?
Well,
Yeah, but-
okay, you're right. I don't know the jobs are actually all there yet in terms of matching we had beforehand, but we certainly have. I mean, right now wages are going up. There is a difference, and like I said, the worst recession since the Great Depression. That's a pretty serious hole to dig his way out of, and he did so just as I don't know how you would have dug the hole out without deficit spending. I don't know how you would dig the hole out without helping to support people when they can't feed their families. You have to do that. And in the meantime, you have to make the environment friendly for business, and he's done that.
But where does it end?
It ends when the economy turns around, but that's it's Keynesian. Keynes is the guy who says you spend through recessions and you save during surpluses, and that's that's what you do to get out of a recession. We basically almost lost our banks. If we'd lost our banks the way they did in the Great Depression, we would not have escaped this the way we did. But we kept the banks alive through fiscal stimulus, through monetary stimulus.
Printing of money.
Printing of money, but
Okay.
on the
Monetizing the
we
debt.
saw what happens when the banks fail in the Great Depression, and it took us World War II to dig out of that. So I don't. Maybe I'm just looking at things from a different angle, but I don't see it as doom and gloom. It's certainly not doom and gloom for gay people. I think that's a
Well-
good thing.
I was about to say hope is not spelled LGBTQ.
But that's an aspect.
It's spelled
of hope.
HOP. It's spelled HOPE.
Fair enough, but I do think that's these certainly their lives are more respected now because of the change that happened 2-3 years ago. When did that happen? It was a Supreme Court thing, and you can't blame Obama for that. But still, I think we've made progress. I think we've foreign policy, as I was discussing with you earlier. I have more criticisms of the Obama doctrine. But I think domestically, we're doing pretty well. I mean, Trump's going to inherit a very strong economy.
Well, Obama doctrine is basically retreat to the wall, and that's what they teach in law schools in the East.
We don't have to get too close to something I'm wrong.
which is retreat.
Especially when you said jobs, yeah. Try to get
Well-
somebody that speaks good English on a help technical line, like Sprint or something like that. They're all over there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're all over there in
It's
India.
all
and-
outsourced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
but
all been
that's-
outsourced, and don't get me started. Beep, 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 beep. All right, I'm just came in to say we need to play these videos real quick
right.
because they're gonna need to go get set up for your show here before too long. All right.
Bring 'em
Yeah.
on.
So we're gonna go ahead and play these videos. And, do you want to just play
Okay.
them all one after another? Or?
Bunch of,
Well, I
like-
would hope we could discuss them, but
Yeah,
do
do
you-
one at a time and discuss it, and then go to the next one. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you
Yes.
want to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you could do that one at a time, and then we could discuss it.
Because what I'll do is I'll keep somebody down here that can do that,
Okay.
and I'll run and try to help one of them over in the other one.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll let them know to, we'll let them know to put the next video on.
Wait a second, I'm gonna.
That's a deep
We
one.
don't even want to begin to talk about race relations, do we?
Well, that's one of the things on this video list, so
Yeah.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We tore apart everything.
We'll
that's
get
been
there.
done. Yeah, yeah.
Came out on the Russian activities, the declassified version. Pretty stark opening sentences. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign. We further assessed that Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. President Putin was trying to elect Trump?
Well, I think the report is very clear. Number one, the Russians sought to interfere with the election process, that the cyber hacking that took place by the Russians was part of that campaign, and that they had a clear preference in terms of outcomes. What I've repeatedly said is that our intelligence communities spend a lot of time and effort gathering a lot of strands and a lot of data. There are times where they're very cautious and they say, we think this is what happened, but we're not certain.
Saying high confidence here.
This time, they've got high confidence, and having seen some of the underlying sources and information that they're basing this on, I stand fully behind the report.
What is that?
Okay, I'm going to jump in here.
Go ahead, because we're going to jump with you.
For the last month, the news has been nonstop Russia hacking, and I have to ask myself, what
came out on the Russian activities, declassified version.
difference does it make? What difference does it make? Whether Russia was involved,
President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence
Technical
campaign.
yeah,
difficulties. There we go.
was Russian who was involved, or somebody from America that hacked the DNC and posted this? This whole thing
in Russia.
is a farce because MSNBC has been promoting Clinton. CNN has been promoting Clinton. Nobody has been promoting
Wow.
Trump. And to, after the election, try to say, oh, the Russians collected the DNC's emails, gave it to WikiLeaks, posted it on there. I don't think it makes a difference. Reporters go out, get the news all the time. They find leaks, and we don't have a problem with the source. But for some reason, because it's Russia and we're supposed to be their enemy, we have a problem with that all of a sudden. And there's been no evidence that they actually changed
A
any
single
vote.
single vote.
But it's not a matter of changing votes, it's a matter of changing opinion. And there's a reason why propaganda has been used by the Russians and by other totalitarian regimes for decades, because you change opinion, even if it's only a percentage, or like 3% or 4%, you're changing enough
I
votes
think
to
some of the
potentially make a
opinion
difference.
that's being changed, though, is not current, because while they're playing Russia over and over, he's getting every one of his nominees through the Senate. And so, I mean, it works out for him, actually. And so I think the debate should be on what's happening on the House and the Senate floor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, and we should be blaming Congress more so than, if we had this guy who spoke, like just now, on cybersecurity, it was 8 years of presidency, 8 years of governing. If we had him at the beginning,
Or just 2 months
well,
ago.
you
Just
know,
2 months ago, a bit
it
difference.
would have
yeah.
been nice,
Yeah.
Learning on the job is hard. By year 6, maybe he started to get it. Trump
Well, if you're
comes, he's
worried
at 70 years old, and I think he's just going to dominate.
Well, learning on the job, do you think Trump already has all the knowledge he needs to be president?
Yes, definitely.
He thinks
Really?
he does.
He thinks he
but
does.
he may
He
not.
can't even stay on topic when it comes to policy discussions. He doesn't understand this stuff. He always defers to people
Who did
around
he
him.
give to as his chief of staff, though? It's Ryan Previs. See, that guy has a lot of party knowledge and just knows how
Most
to
of his nominees
project
probably
manage
came
it.
from him. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, he's
But-
at least
but
relying
he
on third
started
parties.
with a
but-
deficit and raised the party within 4 years and put this machine together without Trump.
Well, the
And we got
machine
what
was not
Trump-
able to win the popular vote, but it could win the electoral college.
We don't want to win
barely,
the popular
barely
vote.
by
We
60,000
do the
votes.
electrical.
Oh,
That's-
you're
that's
right.
why
You're
I
right,
went to
and it was
Michigan.
very successful. But that's
That's
why.
what a successful
But that's why
campaign does.
propaganda is very, very useful, though. All it has to do is change 60,000 votes,
But it's
and
the
it probably
media.
changed a few more than that. But that's and
the
look at what
media
happened before the
who's-
election.
who's
How Hillary Clinton
reporting,
could
though.
not escape. The internet server issue or the mail server issue, and of course WikiLeaks is constantly keeping in people's mind. She couldn't escape it. So how could you say that the media was
you
on her
name
side?
one email on WikiLeaks that would have changed?
Does-
No, you
a-
can't. But it's like the slow drip that knocks the wall down.
Does prop-
Eventually, it
does-
just it collapses
Is,
from
is,
the rot.
is propaganda more effective than a bullet?
Usually it is. I mean, a bullet. When you look at all the regimes that have been taken up, that have been overturned by guns. they
Saddam,
tend to be
Saddam
taken
Hussein's
over by.
in the ground. Gaddafi's in the ground.
Yeah.
And who did? And who we claim that.
I
And
don't
so
understand
to
that.
me, it's like
Wait, okay, fair enough.
You're talking about somebody pulling something people. We're talking about
It's
we
not- okay,
kill
I see.
people.
When you go in and conquer a regime
Daily
with
president's
guns
list.
and tanks, you're right. I mean that's different, but I mean, it's certainly more powerful in the near term. But propaganda is very effective at slightly skewing a vote, and that's what happened. All it had to do is skew it a little bit.
But
in
they haven't
key states.
said that even one vote was effective.
No, they didn't. They couldn't prove that.
We think it was effective.
They didn't. They said they
We
didn't hack the
believe-
voting machine.
That's a
different,
choice.
Though, but
Belief is a choice.
you're right, but that's why it's effective. If you decide, I want to convince you to elect Mickey Mouse.
Why
It's
didn't
gonna be
they-
hard to do.
Why
but
didn't they bring
you
some?
would
Why
keep-
didn't they bring
all
some
you gotta
people
do
say
is get
"This-
1%.
the
Bernie
Russians changed
Sanders
my
kind of
mind?
thing.
Well, don't they have
I
some
don't
people
want
line
Bernie
up say the
Sanders. I
Russians
never liked
changed
Bernie
my
Sanders.
mind?
It was Bernie Sanders and Clinton. I mean, Bernie Sanders and Trump. That was supposed to be the deal. They wanted somebody who wasn't part of the establishment, who was against the grain.
You mean the popular the citizens?
popular
Yeah, yeah,
citizens. The citizens.
It was definitely an
an anti. They were
anti-
sick of Clintons. They were sick of Bushes. They were
Ah,
sick of it all.
you're
And-
right. I mean,
and
Clinton was
because the
not
Democratic
ideal.
Party decided to use their superdelegates as they always do.
But they
And-
didn't.
and-
It didn't
yes.
get them the vote, though. I mean, the
but
superdelegates didn't
your-
make a
but
difference.
Your
though.
primary process is sparkling clean, right?
No,
You
I'm
don't
not
have
pretending it is. I'm not
superdelegates
pretending
and-
it is.
And that
Well,
don't cross over. But that's besides the point. I'm just saying.
But that's not
you
the reason
went
why
with
Hillary
the-
Clinton got the nomination. She
that's
got it
a-
because she
it's
got
an
3 or 4
election
million
year-
more
it's
votes
an
than
election
Bernie
year when
Sanders did.
People want a populist president, and
Well,
they got it. And the
But
DNC
she still
and
lost the
strategists
popular
would've done
vote, and only by 60,000 votes did she actually win the Electoral College. That's enough for propaganda to make a difference in an election, and that's what happened.
That's an assumption.
We've
How did
seen
you
that
even get that
propaganda is
close?
effective in
when she was 99%
in Italy.
polling. I believe the day
Marine Le
of
Pen
she was
might win the election.
99% polling that she was going to win. 95 to 99% in last week. That's how bad
I
the
agree
polls
with
were.
you that propaganda is very
You caught them on
important,
CNN all the time,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but look
No
at the
politics.
propaganda of the mainstream media. They were all for Clinton. Even
Really?
Fox News was against Trump.
You could not
And
escape the mail server
do you,
issue.
do
It would
you-
not
do you know
go
when the
away.
leak emails came out? The leaked emails came out on the Friday when the Trump Access Hollywood video came out. And what did the media discuss for the next 2 weeks? It was all Trump, all negative Trump, how he couldn't win, that this was the end of him. Congressmen were pulling away from his support. And you barely heard a mention about the leaked emails. After 2 weeks, they started reading through them, they started reporting on some of them, but they barely got a mention. It was all negative news about Trump. So
Well,
the
Trump's
effect
got a
is
lot of negative news to report. though, to be
exactly,
fair.
but the media
He's not like
hyped it up.
Squeaky clean.
And so they barely covered it. So after the fact, to come and say that this caused it, the unclassified report was released on Friday, and I read it. And
Yeah, they have a
what
lot of
it
detail.
said was, all it was a bunch of assumptions, and we conclude or we
Right.
surmise. And then the evidence,
Because
you know what
they
the
can't give
evidence
you-
was? The evidence was, oh, look what RTTV, Russian TV showed. Anybody here ever watch RTTV? You know what it is?
Don't ever watch Russia.
I've watched it. I've worked in Poland, and in Poland they had CNN International, and they have RTV, and they have France 24. So I actually watched it, and it's a well-done newscast, international news
It's
in
a
English.
very well-organized propaganda machine.
Yes.
They-
But
it's
nobody
controlled by the Putin
watches
people.
it.
Well, people
Hardly
do.
anybody watches
And
it.
gets relinked, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, RT is the public face of the propaganda machine from Russia. But it's not, he didn't use well-known organizations. I mean, the spate of fake news that was driven by these leaks that only were leaked on the Democratic side, that's propaganda. And like I said, it didn't take a lot to skew the Electoral College vote. All it took was 60,000 votes.
Well, and I have to keep in mind one thing, we do. Hillary done it to herself already. She did it. She did it to herself already. And she did it to herself. The people were sick and tired of it.
She did
mean-
decide to use a mail server that her husband already had in place. And that's something that's weird because most people don't have mail servers already in place. She also wanted to have a mobile device. Think about being Secretary of State. You're Secretary of State, you're traveling the world, and you got to go into a special room to check your mail. That's weird. And it's also pretty evident that the U.S. government hadn't really figured out this internet thing yet. So you were allowed to send non-work email to private email, which is a stupid idea. You shouldn't allow that to happen. Now you can't do that. You're not allowed to do even non-work related business on private email, or non-secure, sorry. Non-secure related business. Everything has to go through the State Department email, and that's the way it should be. But in 2008, you were still allowed to send non-secure, non-classified communication through Gmail, through Outlook, or whatever you wanted to use.
But
and that's crazy.
I think
that's
her
crazy.
own server that she set up did a lot more in the public's mind to portray her as she's trying to hide something.
Because email is kind of a mysterious thing for a lot of
and she doesn't want the public to know about her private conversations.
Yeah, her
And-
desire for privacy was a bit overblown. If she had not been that private a person, I mean, for me, like, I used to write for magazines, and I have pictures of me all over the internet, and I don't care. And that's the way you should be if you're a politician. You should not care about information that's out there. She's not that way, probably because she was
Very
married to Bill
secretive.
Clinton. And
Hey, well, here's the thing. I know we've got our next video to go to,
All right, let's do that now.
but we can all agree on this, that with Trump being in this next office as our president, it's not politics as usual.
No, you're
No,
right.
it's not.
It's kind of.
It's not
terra
politics
incognita
as
is what it
usual.
is.
This is going to be very different. Okay, so next video.
We're also not much of a tweeter. He was on a tirade this morning, sent out a lot of tweets early this morning. Clearly, according to him and his people, he's going to keep on doing it when he's sitting there behind that desk. Good idea?
On the one hand, information is moving quick, and or the way in which people consume information is changing so fast. Clearly, this worked for him, and it gives him a direct connection to a lot of the people that voted for him. And I've said to him, and I think others have said to him, that the day that he is the President of the United States, there are world capitals and financial markets and people all around the world who take really seriously what he says, and in a way that's just not true before you're actually sworn in as president.
Do you want me to jump in there? Or since you did it last
Yeah,
time?
well, I mean, should the president be on Twitter? What do we think?
The problem I have with Twitter as a medium for disseminating information from president is it's not really, it doesn't lend itself towards lots of thought. The president has a lot of power to move markets, to scare foreign governments, and they need to be very deliberative about the way they communicate with the outside world. And I don't get the sense that Trump is doing that. And it's just not what he's used to. He's been a reality TV star. He's not been a person who has the kind of power and visibility that a president does.
Well, he's not being politically correct.
That is
That's
definitely true.
That's true.
He's
and
taken
some
Twitter and
people
just
like that.
knocked it
It's
down.
kind of
Just like-
refreshing.
Just like I'm a black Republican, I don't talk like this. I talk like this.
Yeah.
I talk like I'm on the street. And you get it straight. I'm not dressing anything up.
He can say truths, real truths that kind of that counter what the elites believe in, but be deliberative. And that's the problem with Twitter. I get the sense that it's kind of like the Matrix wire jacked directly into the brain. It goes out to the world, and that's the problem I have. That's what I find dangerous about his use of Twitter. He can move. He could cause like Boeing to lose 5% in one day based on something he said about the presidential airplane.
I think that's all good things. Everything you're saying that's negative, I think it's all good. I just have a different perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's free speech. And
it is free speech, but and I don't have any problem with free
I
speech.
don't really like Boeing all that much.
Well,
they've been over.
You can't have
charging
free
up for
speech.
us.
You have to lie. You
like Airbus
you have,
better?
You have to talk like this.
I think being real.
You have to change
is
your
a good
voice.
thing. I think even the discussion in politics has become more raw. I've seen my friends have actually said, "Yeah, I like him," or "I don't like him," and made definitive stands. And I think that the quality of conversations I'm having with people are more passionate.
We have to
Really
remember
don't
that
like
Jerry Springer is popular.
So
yeah, but that doesn't mean I want Jerry Springer as president, though.
He was mayor of Cincinnati.
I mean, I still don't want him as president. I mean, I want somebody who's very deliberative and thoughtful about these issues, and I don't get that sense from Trump. I don't want to have just his knee-jerk idea about something. I want to have his long, analyzed, like, this is what I want to do.
The president is very deliberative and thoughtful.
Yeah, and we have an economy that shows it.
He draws red lines that don't mean anything.
Well, that's, like I said, I'm not going to defend his foreign policy. I have a lot of general issues.
I believe there are some things that
He wins by
that
retreat.
Trump will be passionate about. I believe that we'll get to see those things if we, once things begin to unfold when he gets into office. I think there's a lot of things he's passionate about. And,
well, he's passionate about the ratings for his Apprentice show. We know that. He doesn't like Meryl Streep. We know that. I mean,
well,
I wish he would not tell us
she
about
don't
that
like
stuff.
him either. But the fact is that we have to wait and see what's going to happen. We have to watch it unfold because it's so easy. We just can't. Trump is just not the type of person that. I don't want to call him a wild card like other people do, but we don't know what he's going to do. We just hope that he uses wisdom with what he does do.
Was he your first choice?
No, he was not my first
Was he
choice.
your first choice?
I put $100 on 18 months ago.
But would you be if you had a choice between the 17 people who were candidates, would you have chosen him?
No, he wasn't my first choice.
He was
Was he
not
your
my
first
first
choice?
choice.
He was my first choice.
He was your first choice. You've been diehard for the very end. Well, I know
He was not my
it was not your
yeah,
first choice.
it was not my
I
first
find
choice.
that for most of the guys I went to school with, he was definitely not their first choice. But a lot of people have kind of said, okay, he's the Republican president, and it's amazing how the party is cohered around him. That's
I'm just saying,
that was
maybe I should
unexpected.
say accepted it. I accepted it as soon as his name was dropped.
Yeah.
Just for branding alone.
Yeah, marketing-wise, he's king, and he proved that in this election.
Well, I think that's it. Trump wasn't my first choice, but Trump does understand the media, and I'm glad that I'm a technology guy. I'm on Facebook. I have a website. I've always been an early adopter of all these things. I'm on Twitter too, and if nothing else, it is refreshing to have a politician, the president of the United States, actually use Twitter. Most of the politicians that have Twitter, they don't write their own tweets. They have staff members that do.
dangerous.
But
Literally in trouble with
Trump is
Twitter.
doing that, so you know exactly how he thinks. But I think there is
Good and
a
bad.
higher level strategy here where Trump is playing a game of poker, and he's using his media, his 20 million Twitter followers, and he has like 19 million on Facebook, to convey a message. And I think he's bluffing most of the time, but
I think
he's
you're
been
giving him
able
too
to
much.
affect a lot of change without shooting a bullet. Carrier's bringing in new jobs. Ford announced it's bringing in more jobs. SoftBank. And he's not even president
get the
yet,
sense
only because of his
A lot of companies
threats.
will kind of reposition jobs that were not going to go anywhere anyway as jobs we're bringing back because of Trump, because you got to stay sweet with Trump. So I'm not convinced all of those jobs are just because of Trump. And he's also going to torpedo our trade relationships potentially, and that's extremely
He's
dangerous.
threatening to, but let's see what he
And
actually
good,
does.
Because we give these corporations municipal, state, and federal tax breaks.
Welfare.
We give them corporate welfare. And
So
you know
don't
what?
do that.
Don't do that. Well, this president sure did it. The last president sure did it. The last one before that sure did it. And you know what? It's not working. What we have is segregation by economics. Don't we have that here in Austin? Yeah, we have Apple. We have Samsung.
That's because of technology
we have
more than trade,
No,
though.
but that's because of people who don't give back, and they don't really respect the community that they're in. They're multinational corporations who don't care about America. Who don't care. No, they don't care.
But corporations are not supposed to care about anything. They're impersonal entities.
Well,
I mean,
we're gonna
what
make
they're
them
good
care,
about
and Trump
is
is gonna make them
efficiency.
care. Well, we
and then
don't-
he's going to hurt America's economy because
It's
we
not.
have to have a
I
global
don't think
supply
that- you
chain. A
watch.
global supply chain.
You watch. The consumers or the wealthiest. If we decide to boycott along with him, then we're not going to buy iPhones anymore. If we think that they're just going to hack us from
I have
China.
a funny feeling that people will not do anything about boycotting an iPhone. That's like saying you're going to boycott clothes. I just think it's kind of fundamental to people's
I think
personality.
his brand is
Well,
larger.
one of the things I like what Trump said was, the USA is open for business. And you know what?
Except if you want to bring product across borders without tariffs.
Well, here's the thing.
That's
And you know what? And I like what he done about Chevrolet. I like it. Why would they go to Mexico and spend what, 1 point something billion dollars when all they done was came here and made some modifications to Minnesota for 700 million and brought 700 jobs? I mean, come on. Why are our everything is so outsourced? These companies need to
Well,
come back home.
I have
These
an example
are
of why it's a good idea to be
Our
outsourced,
military, they use our police, they use our
Yes.
roads, and they use our schools.
And
they
Apple
abuse
pays
it,
lots.
And they don't give back.
Apple pays billions and billions in American taxes. Billions in
No,
American
not-
taxes.
and not-
Now they don't
and
pay
this is
taxes
the
around the
community.
world.
No. They get tax breaks, and they need to be giving into
Apple
this community.
pays
They won't even
billions.
spend $100,000 on the east side of Austin for a school.
Apple?
I mean, that's how bad. Yes, Apple.
Yeah, well,
my-
but that's okay. Then tax Apple correctly and use that money. Why are you asking companies to become these altruistic organizations?
don't. They get out
that
of
seems
the-
very
get out-
non-capitalistic.
It is. But
Okay,
it's
so you're gonna
because we're
have-
in an answer because we're in a post-capitalistic society.
I sure hope not, because capitalism has been the biggest source of growth and
Philosophically,
wealth and
yes,
technology
but
and
there's
advancement
a win-win
and peace.
situation. there is a point in time where everybody wins. Instead of being so divisive, we could actually
Well-
work together, use our skill sets, build up the communities, and not have them so segregated. It's not a zero-sum game.
What about war? Because the reason
we
why
have
we had
a
these
voluntary draft.
we have
I
this-
mean, we have a voluntary army.
Well, I know,
and
but
they fight
but
because they
trade
think
agreements.
of something greater.
But why do we have to get involved in wars? Because other nations are dangerous. Now, why
We
did
were by
why
default
did
the only
why did we
we
decide to
became
start having
so
trade
great.
agreements with the rest of the world after World War
Because the
II?
USSR broke up. There was no other superpower to keep the other whole
No, I'm
world
talking
in
about after
check.
World War II. The push for trade agreements happened after World War II because we realized that these isolated trading
But we had a
blocks
Cold
causes
War.
conflict
Cold
and not
War
lack of exchange.
And trade was what we did.
We traded with the world. We started.
Yes,
we
and there
built
was a Cold War at that time.
no with Russia,
So-
with the Soviet Union. I'm
Right,
talking about
which is a
trading with
big
China,
entity.
trading with South
So
Korea,
they were able
Taiwan,
to
Chile,
keep
Europe.
Their place. So North Korea. If we build Russia up, they can take care of North Korea. They can take care of that side of the world. I think we would be happy. We
I
have
don't think they
enough to
want
do
to.
with South America alone. But when you're the only benevolent empire in the world history, I mean, I think we're doing a fairly good job.
I'm not
I
saying
mean,
we're
that goes
doing.
back to the
we've made
President
mistakes,
Obama
but we made
and
mistakes.
President Bush beforehand. I don't think Trump wants to do that. But when you have multinational corporations who live in these communities here in the United States, and they don't give back. I mean, they just don't. This place should be sparkling.
Corporations hire
I mean, there's
people. They
5
don't-
corporations. No, it's elite. It's elite tech companies. I'm sick of these tech companies. They
Well,
don't give back. And you know what? And that's what Donald Trump is saying. I'm gonna tax the hell out of you because you can't give back to your own community because you're so efficient at making money and offshoring it, so you
Well-
make sure you don't have any roads.
Well,
that, you
offshoring
know-
does help get jobs in South Korea and Taiwan and China, which
But
is
they
good.
have their own
America.
And then
They have
they
their
export.
own
We
government.
export to them. Our biggest trading partner right now is China for exports. Our third biggest is
What
Mexico
about
for
us?
exports.
What about the United States
Well,
citizens?
that's the thing. I mean, imagine. Okay, I know both. He and I are both in IT. We would not have jobs if we had to pay to build all of our computers here in America. It would cost too much money.
That's not true.
That is true because
No.
because if you let's say a computer costs $10,000, that would be a lot fewer computers in the world,
That's
a
only
lot
if you
less
kept the
software to
same
build.
policies. I say do away with the minimum wage for anybody here who is not a United States citizen. You should not get all the rights of a United States citizen. And so without that, they could get a $4 to
non-US
$3, and that would be a manufacturing plant right there.
Well, before we
I
go to our
understand.
next video,
We'll push to the next video.
our next video, I want to just say, I just want to just share again, Trump's logo, "Make America Great Again," and that's his whole platform.
I'm skeptical if he's going to be successful in that, but
Hey,
I have no- I'm on
things
this
are
plane, I
happening
can't
and
get
he's
off.
not even in the White House yet. Next video, please.
Hi.
Is progress. But as I've been talking about over the last several days, when it comes to healthcare, The gains that we've made are there. 20 million people have health insurance that didn't have it before. The uninsured rate is the lowest it's ever been. The rise in healthcare costs since Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was passed, have been at their lowest rate in 50 years. Those savings have extended the Medicare Trust Fund by 11 years. If the Republicans can come up with a system that insures more people, cheaper, better, I will be the first one.
And I can tell by your smile, you don't think they can do it.
Well, I'm skeptical that they can do it, mainly because for 7 years now, including when we first tried to pass health care, I said to them, okay, if this doesn't work, tell me what does. In this room, I remember having meetings with Republican senators who initially had been trying to engage, but saw that the politics of no were growing inside the Republican Party. And I remember having a conversation in the Oval Office with one of those senators who was starting to get a little sheepish about what compromises might garner his support. And finally I asked him, is there any changes I could make that would get you to support this? And he said, probably not, Mr. President.
Okay, let me jump in here.
Go for it.
This whole healthcare, well, we know that Obamacare ACA is gone. They have the votes in the Senate to do it because originally 0 Republicans signed up on it, and they passed the reconciliation bill with 51 senators. So they can easily roll back Obamacare. So the question is, what do we do to replace it? On the right, they've said it's a failure. Rates have skyrocketed, continue to skyrocket, and it sounds like it's been a political football, and that's what Obama just said there, that the Republicans didn't want to do anything. So I want to get out of that. I want to talk about what is the solution for it, and if anybody is listening, I have a number of ideas to actually lower the cost of healthcare. Healthcare costs are rising, and the thing with Obamacare is it was an insurance plan, and insurance only works when you have a lot of people paying into it that doesn't use it. Car insurance works because we all pay, but we don't always get into accidents. The problem with healthcare is that Obamacare said that you could have all these free benefits, a physical, a mammogram, contraceptives, all these different things, and you have to be covered. Everybody uses it.
Free. They're included
so,
as part of the plan you paid.
Right.
Yeah.
So it increases the number of benefits. Well, it's going to cost more. Insurance should be for catastrophic things that only happen once in a while, and the rest we should pay for. We should pay for out of a health savings account, which is what I have at work, and which is tax-free. And when people pay for something out of their own pocket, they ask the questions, how much does it cost? Right now, we don't ask because we don't care because somebody else pay for it.
That's one of the biggest problems.
And it's very tough to
I
get
asked.
an answer, right?
I'm like, I asked because you know what the co-pays for every single thing you do? You go to the doctor's office, you have some tests run, you go back to hear the results, another copay. I'm like, wait a minute, come on, man.
Yep. Well,
You know,
I have a health things where I have to pay the first $2,700 out of my pocket.
well, that's a big deductible. you
Right,
got.
right. But my company gives me $1,500, and I put $100 a month into it. And I like how that works because I can ask the questions. Usually, you can't do much about what you're going to pay. It is astronomical. But what people don't realize, my wife used to work at a medical clinic. Doctors have 3 prices for services. One for Medicare, one for insurance, and one for self-pay. Right. And the cheapest one is actually Medicare. Like if you want to visit a doctor, Medicaid only pays like $35. The most expensive one is insurance. $150 to see the doctor.
They don't charge the insurance companies that though. That's just the
But that's
imaginary price. If you
fundamentally
didn't have insurance, you'd have to pay.
unfair. Why shouldn't we all pay $35? Why does it cost $150 when I see my doctor and it's like I see him for 5 minutes maybe, and then he's going to see somebody else for 5 minutes?
Because
And
our medical industry is set up as a profit center, and it really, I mean, the problem I have with, I mean, I agree. I mean, exposing people to the costs of medical care is very important, but
what did ACA do to lower the cost? So that's one thing I would do is do the health savings account and have your money, but bring in more doctors into the system. In India, you know what it costs to see a doctor? $5. You know why?
a lot less
Because
you got a lot more doctors per
there's
person.
promotions in India where all the kids, when they graduate, they want to be a doctor or a software engineer. And you know what? That's why software engineers there get $15,000 a year, and doctors don't get paid because they flood the market. In America, it's very difficult to become a doctor because the AMA makes
You're
it
right.
very
We have barriers to entry,
restrictive
yeah.
to promote more doctors. So we need more doctors into the system to help drive the costs lower. And I would suggest this
But
other
that's
thing,
why the
more
Cadillac tax
tourism.
existed. The Cadillac tax was designed to get people to be faced more with the cost of healthcare. The problem with healthcare is it's not a rational market. People don't tend to be qualified to figure out whether this doctor is selling them a bill of goods or is telling them the truth. And so it's not, I mean, when I'm buying a car, I can analyze all the car features. I understand them generally. But when you're talking about healthcare, first, you're not going to necessarily understand it as well. But the second thing is, if you're facing death, you're not going to be a rational choice maker. You're gonna okay, give me the surgery. I don't want to die. And so
It's unsustainable. And that's what we have, a bunch of unsustainable programs. We have nothing but one after another. And people think that this is just going to go smoothly. It's not. Either somebody stops it now or we get ruined. And this is one of those choices, I think, in history where the United States, the Congress, the judicial, they have a chance to redo the whole system if a Congress acts in on this.
maybe they'll cut back Medicare. I mean, that's the big thing they're going to have to cut back with the baby
They're
boomers
going to cut
aging.
back
That's
everything,
the big thing. Yeah.
and then they're going to have to come together. Everybody should be a stakeholder at the table, and I hope that that's what Trump is going to do. And from what I hear, that's what he's going to do, is all stakeholders and communities get together.
But I don't think his
and,
voters voted for that, though. I don't think they voted for Medicare and Social Security cuts because Trump voters
It's not
skew
about
older.
cuts; it's about winning.
But
He's
they're
gonna
going to.
win.
If he cuts Medicare, which it
Well,
is
Trump has said
unsustainable
he's
as
not.
it
zero-sum
This is
game.
where Trump is kind of left of center. He wants everybody to have universal health care. He stated that. He hasn't exactly detailed how
has
that's
no
going to
idea about that.
happen,
Because it
but
goes
this
deal
is
by
going to be
deal.
one of the issues that's going to be very difficult to solve
In Austin,
because of the
not
system.
really, like you said, education. Education is the key to everything. You put in a University of Texas healthcare system in here, and now we have education. And guess what? The whole population is going to benefit from that, and because they're going to have free clinics and everything else. And so that's one way of solving it.
Wait,
is
I
through
don't
education.
understand that solution. So education, more doctors, you're saying, or
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. I mean, they
Well,
have to-
certainly, he talked about like barriers to entry for doctors, and that is true. It's a very onerous process. We also have these big barriers to people from out of the country coming in here and getting certified to be a doctor. So we can't import doctors without
that's why
like
we wanted
lots of
someone
expense.
new.
Yeah.
And I think, too, that we really need to put a limit on these insurance companies. They have gone too far. The prescription drugs, I mean, it's just outrageous. They have been allowed to get away with everything that they've done. I mean, people don't even, you have a lot of baby boomers that can't determine whether I should buy a piece of meat or if I should pay for this prescription. I mean, this is,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
limit really needs to be put on
We
it.
pay 3 times what the rest of the world pays for healthcare. And,
Yes.
and for prescription drugs, it's even worse.
It is.
So it's quite. But do you agree with like having a pre-existing condition being required to get to have that covered by insurance companies?
I think that was a
Yeah,
great thing that President Obama done. Well, that was a good thing that was with this. Some things we can keep. There's some things we need to get rid of. But what really killed me in the very beginning is that there were so many things in that whole bill that didn't have anything to do with health care.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
The minimum standards were so great that it just blew up the system.
and then you can't give, then there were some states that and companies that got away with, doing what the rest of the world had to do. That wasn't fair. That wasn't equal with what was happening.
he is right though. He did cause the prices of insurance were going up catastrophically before the ACA. It was going up slower. It was still going up ahead of inflation. It was still getting too high, but he did bend the cost curve down.
You don't know for
Obamacare
sure,
was-
though.
The ACA, well, no, we do. We have lots of, they've analyzed it. It has made a difference in cost increases. Now, obviously, some of this is because of the recession, but it has made a difference in terms of, it was not supposed to be the final solution to healthcare. It was supposed to be something that started the discussion, made you be more exposed to the cost of healthcare.
I agree with that.
And that's, unfortunately, we never took the next step.
He probably shouldn't have called it Obamacare.
We didn't call it.
Well, they shouldn't have called it
Affordable
Affordable
They made
Care
it.
That
Act.
was the buzzword used to kill it. it.
and the thing of it
Did not.
is
It's
that
not Obamacare.
it was done a negative thing where so many doctors left the profession, and that wasn't right.
Well, that was
That
happening.
wasn't good.
But that was happening though beforehand, though, because it's just such a huge hassle to deal with the insurance process in this country.
Well,
It is just a
that's what
painful
needs
thing
to
from
be
what
regulated. That's what needs to be regulated.
Well,
I'm
that's
telling
that's
you.
what the ESA was trying to do, to kind of build digital standards, to kind of find a way to kind of start cut back this overhead of cost, and again, that never got finished. So it's going to be a big process. It's going to bankrupt us if we don't find a way to control our healthcare costs.
Yep.
And we've got one more video to show. But here's the thing: why would you take that from Mitt Romney if it wasn't a good thing in the first place?
I know, it's a great idea.
Next video, please.
Mitt Romney, he had a good thing.
The first line of the biography is probably going to be first African American president.
Yeah.
The heart of your promise when you first burst on the national scene, bringing everyone together. And you look now, and most African Americans think we've gone backwards on race relations over the last 8 years.
Race relations on the whole are actually better now than they were
Better
20
now?
years. Yes, but we have greater awareness of where we're falling short than we used to. Let's just take the example of community police relations. I mean, the truth of the matter is that the problem of police shootings and reactions in the community, George, you and I are about the same age. I think you remember what happened in Los Angeles after Rodney King. I think you remember what the divisions that happened after the O.J. trial. I think you were, the notion that somehow any of that is new isn't the case. What is true, though, is now we've got a bunch of videos that, whatever side of the issue you're on, raises the temperature on these issues and makes people really focused and trying to figure out what exactly is this. And I think that is a healthy thing. I'm not so out of touch that I don't see how young people interact today. And
That horrific Facebook Live video yesterday.
Well, it was horrific. It's not as if that's the first time that a hate crime has taken place in this country. Hate crimes have been taking place for hundreds of years in this country, but it's there on video. Seeing cruelty and callousness of that sort from young people is heartbreaking. And so naturally, if you see a video like that, you're going to say to yourself, my God, this is horrible. And rightfully so. But that allows us then to talk about how do we break free from those kinds of attitudes. During the course of my presidency, crime has been the lowest it's been probably since the 60s. But you wouldn't know it if you were watching TV or looking at the internet. And you certainly wouldn't know it listening to this past campaign. There are some exceptions, Chicago, my hometown in particular. But overall in the country, this is a much safer place than it used to be.
I'm speechless with no less.
Okay, well, so our race, I think I know you kind of talked about this a little. I might differ from you guys a little bit, but our race relations better. I watch a lot of media. I see all the videos, but I'm kind of in agreement with Obama here that the media has hyped up over the last few years all these videos of all this police brutality, white on black crime, and has blown it out of proportion. I'd like to think that it's not that bad and hasn't gotten that worse, but you guys might have a different perspective
And
on it.
crime peaked. Crime overall peaked in 1990. It's been going down. I'm not really sure why. It's been going down ever since 1990, and that's true. I mean, crime levels have changed. The difference now, though, and I think it's not this media, CNN talking about it. It's the fact that technology has changed. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's got a camera, video camera. They can stream live what's going on. And so beforehand, this was kind of like it was your word against the cops, and nobody. nobody believed what they were saying. Now it's like, look, this is happening to me.
So it's more. So you recognize that it is promoted more. The media is trying
It's promoted
to.
because it's there now. Now we have.
Yeah.
Now you can see what's happening. The veil has been pulled back, and you see
it's
what's been hidden
exposed.
beforehand. It's exposed. It was there beforehand.
Right.
Now it's obvious because everybody's got a camera. That's probably a good thing. I think it's good for us to realize this is happening and fix it. Before I was even sure it was there. Now we know it's there.
Yeah. And we still have a lot of work.
I know we do.
We have a long way to go, I'm telling you, on every side. On every side. I mean, I pray for our law enforcement. They need help, they need prayer, they need wisdom, they need guidance, you know, but as citizens, the same thing. We're you know, at some point in time, we used to be able to look up to them, you know, but I think that they need to play more of a part in the community. I think that we all need to play our own part and come together. That is not going to be an easy thing to do.
It can't be us versus them. It can't be. Otherwise,
Right.
it's not going to work. Yeah.
Because if we don't come together, it is going to continue being us versus them, and that's not a good thing. I mean, I know they put their life online every single day. I mean, I just don't know what to do, especially when you know, because it makes me think, okay, well, you're corrupt, you're crooked. I mean, you didn't have to, what happened to shooting somebody? What happened to shooting in the air? What happened to shooting somebody in the leg? I mean, do you have to just shoot to kill them every single doggone time?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's what bothers me. And then, I mean, so much has happened, so much. And when you see these videos, you're like, oh, how could that be? And I hate that it sparks these riots to the point of where people tear up their city. It's crazy. This is where you live. Why would you tear it up?
But do you think, though,
Yeah, I know, one thing
do you
after
think,
another.
though, that the media is complicit in that by pumping up these stories and showing them to the extent that they have
I don't think
that
they matter.
actually caused the riot?
They know what it is. They have PTSD. A lot of them are vets. I mean, some people are doing 15, 16 tours, and then maybe they come back as a police officer. They're not getting paid much.
No, they're not,
Okay,
yeah.
so I mean, sometimes they have to commute to the city that they're like Austin. You know, you can't afford to live here if you're a teacher. 32,000 can't afford to live here.
Anybody.
No, nobody
Right?
can afford to live here anymore.
So
You talked about the burning up of the cities and stuff like that. But what gets me is like if a black youth gets killed by the police or something like that, and they go and burn up the cities and protest, but they're also getting themselves new TVs and all this stuff. So how are they honoring this dead youth by going and rioting and getting a new TV in the process?
Well, and another thing, Chris, is that how can you honor a dead youth when the police don't shoot him and another one in the community do?
Oh, exactly.
I mean,
it's just bizarre, and it's something, I kind of like, they're just jumping in the window, getting them a new TV and running off,
No, that's not justifiable. But it is, though. It is not justifiable, though, for people to be targeted more than others. I mean, profiling is a problem, and I think I obviously am not of a complexion that gets targeted. That's
Hey, it's good when you're targeted.
I think it'd make me angry if I was. I think I'd be angry if I was, and that just gets you angry after a point. I mean,
well, and it
it
does.
comes from the top, though.
It does. But, I think, too, as parents, we need to teach our children how to address the policeman.
Especially with this recent 4 kids on that one kid. There's
No, that was it's not justifiable.
commentary afterwards. Is that where are the parents in this? Where are the parents in all this?
Maybe the
Yeah.
parents are poor or have problems,
Well,
have
that-
drug issues. I mean, who knows?
well-
They're usually in a very poor part of Chicago, and
It's a family. It
yeah.
seems like a family rearing issue.
Well, and a lot of it is.
And drugs,
A
yeah.
lot of it is. But then again, a lot of them have been treated poorly, too.
Uh-oh.
So there's so much. This is so good. I think we need to continue it another day because there's so many more. There's so many more things topics we need to talk about as they just, as this year and as everything else begin to unfold. I know by the time Trump get into the White House, it's going to be a whole lot of more things we need to talk about. So, Anthony, this was really good. A really good show today.
Yeah, it worked out well. John,
I enjoyed talking, yeah, it was
and Mike
great. Yeah, thanks
finally
for-
showed up.
Thanks,
Everybody
Enjoyed
got
talking
Mike.
with you too. Yeah.
So,
Oh,
did you
mean
have an
Mike?
announcement you
Mike
wanna
was
make,
John.
Mike?
Yeah, good to meet you.
No, this is just, well, I guess, the House opens tomorrow. It's the session, so call to order by the new Secretary of State, and everybody is appointed, roll call, oath of office, speaker gets nominated, elected, appoints committee, oath of office, a band, and the Governor Greg Abbott speaks benediction,
Is
patriotic
Donna
scene,
Duke gonna
and-
resign?
No,
You don't think
got-
so?
no.
29.
I hope she does. It's
She said no.
She did
did
say
she
no.
say, or through her lawyers, through the DA? I haven't heard it from her mouth yet.
The
I
DA
think
said
she
she was
said-
going to confer with the Texas Rangers investigation.
They better
And
prosecute
so,
her.
Depending on that outcome, then they'll see what happens.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Just we won't have shows for the next 2 Mondays coming up, but then we'll be back afterward. So just get ready. There's going to be a lot of things to talk about.
Great.
Good night.
We're off.
That was fun. I enjoyed it. No,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah. Well.